Are you ready to work with journal entries and be part of the journal entry jamboree? This is the first of our exercises in the journal entries using SAP S/4HANA. First, we need to go into the system, and we need to go into whatever system your professor has asked you to go into, and then you enter the client that your professor has asked you to use. Go into your user ID, and if this is the first time that you are putting in your password, the passwords controls will require you to save your password to a new password. Why do you think it's doing this? Again, it's wanting to have you put a more robust password in. And why do we have it typed twice? Well, that's to make sure that you don't type it incorrectly. And also, you can't see how long that password is because you're typing and the dots are over there. So it's not easy to know the size of a password when you're going into it. One of the first things we want to do is go into the extras, settings, and I like to display the technical names and the favorites at the end of the list. If you don't want to display the picture, you can take that off, but we're going to keep our picture on. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going in to the system of doing a few things. So let's look at what we're going to be doing. We're going to be, in this video, looking at the chart of accounts, and then we're also going to be calculating or putting in some employee tolerances. Right now, the system is not configured for a very large employee tolerance level for the general ledger entries or journal entries. And since we are implementing or putting in initial balances for a new system, we have to raise those tolerance levels. A tolerance is a type of business rule or parameter within the SAP system. Next, we're going to add a general ledger account. We will be adding a retained earnings account, which can be directly posted to. Now, keep in mind that generally a retained earnings account will be posted to as part of the processes that are automated in a system. But in our journal entry jamboree, we're looking at a system that is using some of the functionality of the SAP system, and we will cover that a little bit more. Section 5, and this one we won't be doing, which is analyzing and preparing the journal entries, but we will be recording the initial balances, which is section 6. So let's get started on some of the work here. First off, we're going to go look at the chart of accounts. And as I'm going through the chart of accounts, I'll also show you how you can add a variant. What a variant is a variant is something that you are creating in the system that you can use and repeat and use multiple times. So let's go in and go into the GL accounts list by going into accounting, financial accounting, general ledger, information system, general ledger reports, master data, and we're going into the GL accounts list, and I'm going to save that as a favorite. Now, in the exercises that we're doing, if you recall, this is going to be section 2, looking at the chart of accounts. Now, I have saved it as a favorite, so I'm going to double click it, and you can see right here I can save a variant. The chart of accounts is going to be my GL with my last 2 digits of my ID. You will not put in 06, you will put your own digits, and you will see that if you do accidentally put my digits in, you will not be able to see the work. Now, I'm not going to execute yet because I want to show you something which you can do, which is saving a variant. I'm going to go in and call this MBs. Now you can see I did one for under AIS 05 as well. So I'm going to save this variant as 06. And you can see I also had one for 06 as well. And I'm going to save this as a variant. Now, if I exit and go back in, I can go and look at or get the variants that I have created. And I want to go to this one. So here I'm going to load that variant, and then I have that information there that I need. I'm going to go ahead and click to execute that variant. And now you can see my general ledger chart of accounts that is already created within the system. And you'll see that the general ledger chart of accounts starts with the bank accounts and it goes into inventory accounts. Typically, a chart of accounts will start with the balance sheet in order of assets and the liquidity of those assets, going from current assets into less liquid assets, and then it goes into liabilities, owner's equity, and then the income statement. You'll also see in here towards the end that we have some numbers that are starting here with 8s and 9s, labor allocation, assessed costs. These are ones that we won't have to worry about with our journal entry Jamboree, but here it is going to be ones that you would use in managerial accounting or in cost accounting. I'm going to go ahead and cancel here and go to the next exercise that we will do, which is configuring the employee tolerances. Now here we're going to go into section 3, configuration of employee tolerances. And this is a preventative application control. It can prevent users from entering unusually large numbers. But in this case, we want you to put in an unusually large number because we are doing initial balances for a system implementation. Now, in other organizations, this initial balance might be a feed from a system because, again, it would be an enormous amount of data. In our case, we can manually enter it and hopefully get an appreciation for the challenges that come with journal entries and transaction processing and data entry. We're going to go into configuration, which this is the only part of configuration that we have access to in our journal entry Jamboree. So we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to go into Customizing and the IMG and Execute Project, which we're going to add to the favorites here as well. Now, if you don't see SPRO, why aren't you seeing it? Again, that might be because you have not gone into the extras settings and you have not shown the technical names. Many times accountants or people using the system remember the transaction, because you can also go up here and enter a transaction if you know it. So I just entered in transaction SPRO. Now we're going to go in and change the limits within our company code, which again, the company code is the lowest level that has an independent set of books. It's part of the financial accounting enterprise structure. So we're going to go into enterprise structure, into financial accounting global settings, document, tolerance groups, define tolerance groups. We're going to hit the IMG activity. And now we want to go and find our company code because we are going to modify our company code. So I'm going to put in a 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for 5 million. And then I'm going to put in 1 million, 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once I've done that, I can click the Save button and you will get a message that says data was saved. Confirm that you see the 5 million and the 1 million here, and you have done this correctly, and you can be very happy with the work that you've done. Now I'm going to cancel out of here, cancel again, exit again to get to the main menu. The next thing we're going to do is to add a general ledger account. Now, a general ledger account is part of master data. We will talk about DK SAM, debitors, creditors, Anlagen, Senchkonto, and material, DK SAM. I said Senchkonto second after Anlagen, but what those mean are debitors and creditors are debitors and creditors. Creditors are vendors, debitors are customers. Senchkonto is our general ledger accounts, and Lagen is our assets, and material is our materials. So that's your German lesson for today, but those are parts of the master data. And in section 4, we're going to add a general ledger account, which is going to be a direct posting account. When you're working with the purchase to pay and order to cash processes that are fully integrated, those are going to be using automated account assignment. In the journal entry Jamboree, we are using accounts that are direct posting only. We will go into accounting, financial accounting, general ledger, master records, GL accounts, individual processing, and centrally creating it, where we will create it both in the chart of accounts and the company code level. We will go ahead and add that to our favorites, do a collapse to come down to it, and go ahead and enter in 330100, which is going to be a direct posting retained earnings account for our company code. In my case, it's US 06. We will be copying from US 00, which is our gold client, I guess, if you want to call it that. This will be the only time in our journal entry Jamboree that we are using US 00, because we are going to copy our account. Now, I like to see you put your initials down here in the retained earnings to ensure that you have completed it yourself. And we'll click the Save button to go ahead and save and add your general ledger account. Now, I will stop there because the next thing we do is going to be creating the initial balances, and that takes a little bit of time. And I want to make sure that that's a little bit shorter of a recording. So I will stop now and then meet you for doing the recording of the journal entries for the initial balances of the event number 0. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, and we'll pick back up with the initial balances. Thank you.